Okay, I was asked by one of my regulars here to debunk Cheddar Man. And while I'm not the geneticist, which is what it really requires to dig totally deep into this, and then of course they would probably be talking over your head in a bunch of gibberish, and you would have to learn genetics 101 to 103 and then probably realize what the hell the guy's talking about unless he broke it down quite concisely. I'm still going to give it that shot. And because it's easy to debunk. It was debunked inside of a week, turned into a total embarrassment when the paper came out. It was listed as being a sham entirely. Whenever they even described the fact of him being blue-eyed and dark-skinned, and then they showed him to be actually something like mahogany. In reality, they only can detect if he had lighter colored eyes, and they can't detect between blue or green, but it was one of those two, and perhaps a grayish blue too. They have no clue. They have no clue. The other interesting thing is the actual SMPs that show the genetics that would go towards the skin are missing portions. And even though they tried to expand the DNA extremely amount and get through, it has a lot of missing portions. So what they did was taking other genetic code and trying to slap it in there and match it. I don't know if you're aware, but DNA code is all based on A, T, G, and these letters, right? And so they look for sequences that are like that, and then just stick it on the end of it where it overlaps the last three letters. Those are the same, and then see if they can attach it to the other end. If they can attach it to the other end, we've got a match. But that's not necessarily a match in any way, shape, or form, and they'd have to perform it more. So let's begin this, and I do want to make clear note of the direction of the way that they are talking about this. This is just some kid doing it, kind of, but it's made to be put out there. And then also the pictures that are being chose, like this one right here, which we definitely can tell doesn't have anything to do with Europoid features whatsoever, but they thought they would start with it.
9,100 years ago, a man suffered a violent death. He was estimated to be in his early 20s when he died. A deep crater-like lesion was found smashed into his skull alongside...
Does that look like it is in any way shape of a mahogany colored man? No. Okay, let's let this go. Let's let him hang himself and I'll talk then.
signs he might have been suffering from a bone infection.
Uh-huh.
He was left to decay for thousands of years in a pristine condition in a place referred to as Ghost Cave. The cave featured many different skeletons and was used as a place for either trophy display, cannibalism, or as a secondary burial.
Huh. So what's odd about this place is that it could have been some type of predator type thing where he keeps trophies of the dead and he killed people and drug them down into a cave because there's so many of them, or it was a primordial burial ground, or a combination of those. And he said something about cannibalism, but I don't believe that they've looked over any of the remains to end up showing this type of thing. It's just a thought of conjecture of what might have gone on, and that this guy, somebody else could be a predator. Was it Cheddar Man that was a predator? No, I didn't know. And nobody tried to bury him either, so it doesn't look like he was with a large group of people either. But another interesting fact is there are some 50 other skeletons that are down in here, and while not exactly totally complete, there is enough to where you can try to get DNA out of other people in there, and they didn't try to do that and try to make any correlations. In fact, what the conspicuous thing is that they dug him out of there and they tried to find his DNA, and the one thing that they keyed on and keyed on and keyed on is the color of his skin for some reason. And that is probably the most conspicuous thing of all of this whole story. And let's continue.
DNA from the 9,000-year-old skeleton was finally extracted this year from the petrous part of the temporal bone by the Natural History Museum, revealing previously undiscovered traits such as the color of Cheddar Man's eyes.
Cheddar Man would have looked like these people. This is what they've all drawn before and everything off of it until this one moment. So are we talking about somebody that has a slight tan to them like these people? Are we talking to somebody? I mean, look at me. I'm Irish and I'm darker than these people right here now. And I haven't even been out in the sun this year, for Christ's sake. I've been paling out now for months and months and months and months and months and months. But hey, let's continue. And here's some more rope. Lie to me again. Let's go.
And had blue eyes, dark
blue
curly
eyes.
hair, black skin, and also suffered from lactose intolerance.
Now, the reason I stop it right here is because why would anyone at the moment of trying to say blue eyes show a man with blue eyes that's a pale Caucasian that looks very much like this man here? and then the next second say that he had dark skin and curly hair and show a negroid and nappy negroid bantu knot type of hair as opposed to the curly hair of this man sitting right here. And I'm sure he can get a little tanner than that. Why would they do that? Also, interesting about this one little clip of video is they try to blur out his face and then they ruin it and you can see his face. And then I thought maybe they're trying to blur out the name on the bottle to keep it from being, a sponsorship type thing, but they can't keep up with that good. But what they do is that's all got to be blurry, but yet the other black girl that was over here walked around with her titties hanging out, and that's all supposed to be okay in a video about a European person. And so are they trying to indicate that he's the European person? Or why are there negroids all of a sudden in this picture shot too? I would say that's picture number 4 that's conspicuous. Starting with the first one, the second one showing you the village people that don't look anything like what Cheddar Man eventually looked like. The third one showing the other one that looked nothing like what he would look like. The other fact, not a picture, is the 50 people they don't try to compare anything to or do any type of genetic studies. The fifth problem with it I have so far is that all they seem to target was the skin color. The sixth problem I have with it is while they're trying to show it to you and say that he might have had darker skin than a Nordic somehow, they try to show negroids with their curly hair as if someone is supposed to believe this. And so what happened right after this came out was black people were hopping up and down, and we was cheddars, like they say we was Egyptians or we was in the Bible somehow, and they had nothing to do with Egypt, they had nothing to do with the Bible, and they never were in Europe. In fact, this is a European man in all of his genetics, but the only oddity is they tried to say that his skin is black. I think this whole thing is geared towards trying to make people that have paler skin very acceptant of immigrating in large amounts of people that hate them with darker skin than what they are, whether they're black or Muslims or people along that nature. And to do so, what they wanted to do was try to show you, oh, well, you used to be darker, don't be racist. But again, it has nothing to do with actual skin color. If this man hangs around at the beach for months, he doesn't all of a sudden become somebody who has achieved less or somebody who is lying about other people's history or anything along that line just because of his skin color. It really has nothing to do with skin color, although that's one thing everybody tries to point out. And again, here we go with we was cheddar. We was mahogany shoe polish with blue eyes now. Let's continue.
And being is milk was consumed when the agricultural revolution began, and humans started consuming milk from cows. Before this, humans were hunter-gatherers, which DNA sequencing also revealed Cheddar Man to be. The culture he...
Now, there's an odd statement in there too, is that he was lactose intolerant, but he was at the point of hunter-gatherers becoming with cattle and stuff. So that genetics shows that he is a person changing to that point too. And so he could be nothing other than a Caucasian, especially at this date in history. And so then they show more of these primordial hunter-gatherers and how they had already domesticated dogs, and dogs are helping to fight, and apparently they come up on an old mammoth skeleton, so they're trying to show you an elder age. But again, anybody in here have mahogany looking skin to them at all? That's picture number 5, isn't it? Let's continue.
It was part of was the tribe of people that colonized Great Britain via the Doggerland land bridge, which
Right.
at present day is flooded by the North Sea after the last glacial period ended around 6,500 to 6,200 years ago.
Okay, so here we go by Willie with, was this picture number 7 now? So now he's going to say, here's the way the people of Doggerland looked, but yet I'm going to show you a shoe polish mahogany man and try to push that off on you. Now, this ancient area they talk about is Doggerland, and it's believed that whenever the sea was much lower, some 420 meters or so, that it was exposed a lot, and a lot of people lived there. It's also like the continent of Mu, Atlantis, and these stories that go along with the idea, but it actually has some type of reputation to it. The problem that I have with it is so close to the Arctic Circle, not too many people were there, and you can definitely see as the ice receded away, and the center of the earth around the Mediterranean and below started to become a desert. People left out of that area and went to greener pastures, and they weren't south, they were north, and here we go, and now they can really blend into that area. In fact, genetics and all archaeology will show you that they edged up into that ice shelf as it went away. And that's pretty much where they went, and they lived off the rivers that ran through that point. So again, we're looking at this picture of these fair-haired people, blonde-haired people. A lot of them must have blue eyes and so on, and there ain't no mahogany person in the whole bunch. But
make sure to subscribe, as we'll be releasing a Doggerland video in the future and picturing how it would have been, the history that is now buried, alongside what the world might have been like if it was never flooded to begin with. It was,
I'd be curious almost enough to subscribe just to see if he tried to show shoe polished up Doggerland people eventually. But I don't care enough to do so with this guy. It's really fairly disgusting. He comes out with this. By the way, you can just type in Cheddar Man Debunked, and rows and rows and rows will come up on the side. I just grabbed a video, looked at it, didn't look like what the guy was saying. On the right-hand side, there was another one. I clicked on it. Bam, the guy went all into genetics and everything off of it, debunking it. Just says Cheddar Man Debunked. And he's got another video after that where he comes to a conclusion, does another one. But that's just another thing. I'll try to copy that. If I can find it again, put it down in the comments so you can look through that if you need some type of secondary confirmation after this. Let's continue.
It was initially believed that Cheddar Man had fair hair and skin, which turns out to be completely incorrect.
In fact, at this point, number 8, I'm going to show negroids jumping around in the water and try to get you to believe that Cheddar Man and ancient British people were negroids. Do you see how disgusting this is, that this person would try to use and at certain exact moments go, and throw in lies? It's completely disgusting.
If Cheddar Man were alive today, people would view him as being more African than European. When he
African Caucasian, because all of North Africa was always endemic Caucasians, and including Egypt and all the way to the Horn of Africa if you look up Caucasian race. So are you trying to say that, or are you trying to put a negroid now? You're trying to put a negroid now. Here's your picture of negroids. Please. Look how disgusting you are. It is pathetic that people would try to do something like this. Was this to help out black people to think more of themselves and lie again? Was this just so British people will try to be more accepting because, hey, you were a Negro once too? How pathetic these lies are that try to ooze out. White people and Caucasians never had anything to do with Negroids. Negroids never came out of Africa, and it's so pitiful that they try to push this onto people whenever people know better. Now, they might catch some gullible people, and of course the black people are never going to let this go, even though it's already been proven. They want to act like, oh, see? But listen, it's not about skin color. It's about accomplishments, people able to do things, what they have done, now how they act and react. You know, in America, they're only like 13% of the population, really like 12.8. Males make up less than half of that because they kill each other so much over shoes and stupid stuff. So they're under 6%, it's deemed. But that under 6% people are causing more than 54% of the crime in America, while they're a mere 6%. And so it's things like that, and the fact that they say they were Egyptians, and they say, believe it or not, in America we have blacks hanging around on street corners yelling at white people, telling them they aren't in their own Bible, but black people were, the people that were illiterate primitives from the west coast of Africa who act like these guys inside the water thing here and jumping all around. And they better not go in any deeper water. I doubt any of them could swim, but that's just a stereotype, right? Let's continue.
Was in fact part of the founding tribe that led to present-day British, which in fact leads there to be no reasonable excuse for current-day racism, considering at one stage our ancestors all shared the current traits that historically white humans have been so quick to separate themselves from.
In fact, you just disgustingly showed some KKK-type people who are completely racist or whatever off of it, but nowadays they're not near as so much. The founding of the KKK wasn't against black people or anything. It was actually against a Jewish man who tried to pay his way out of having raped and killed a girl. You could look this up or whatever, and for its first 15 years or so, it really wasn't that. Then it got infiltrated by people who, if I described their name, it would be ooze and start with a J sound, and they ended up turning it into what you call about it, and then they kept themselves hidden because They were trying to do a covert type of thing, just like they were the ones involved in the Jewish slave trade. It's not called the whitey slave trade, the Caucasian American slave trade. It is the Jewish slave trade. So we can get that straight too. But all of this is tried to be hidden, and you can't say anything against those people because once a bunch of people got killed off, and oh, you've got to pity me. Oh, and we had the Bible too, so you can't say anything about them. Well, we're all part of the 12 tribes of the Caucasians here, and we can damn well talk about it. Thank you. But this has gotten disgusting to the level of crazy now, and the fact that, listen, it's not racism to want your country to stay your country and not have them in your country. Just like it's not racist whenever they didn't want British in their country anymore. Hey, Whitey went around and helped a lot of countries out, India, up into China, everywhere, Proto-Indo-Europeans, all the way through. But hey, we're more than glad to back off of that situation, as you've seen. And now we're the police of the world, and when people try to screw up each other, we stop it and reset the border exactly where it is. Yeah, and we're also stopping the BS of this crap, where people try to come out and lie about their histories and say things, and then you have this guy here totally deluding people and showing weird pictures at weird times and stuff, and it shows you the delusion that's trying to be presented here. Let's continue.
The reason people began obtaining fairer skin in England is simply because the temperature and intensity of the sun was much less than what it would have been in Africa and countries surrounding it. Since England...
No, that's not true. In fact, here, let me show you something. So here's some videos from my site, and if you look at the top one here, because I looked up Neptunes Lagoon light-skinned jeans, and you'll see this here, and it says light-skinned jeans go back 600,000 BC, blanket at 60,000 BC, not 8,000 BC. What's this? Well, light-skinned jeans, often touted by racist blacks as mere 8,000, now have been proven to show as far back as 600,000. This is actually from a peer-reviewed article talking about how they had pinned down the gene and gotten a genome of somebody old enough. They turn around, they can tell you it goes back this far due to their tracing and the way that they run things, and it had nothing to do with that 8,000-year-old guy. Well, it kind of does, but his granddad had that same gene, and so did his great-granddad, and it goes on for there. So it's not like some primordial Adam situation, or there wasn't anybody before that, or the people before that didn't possibly have any light skin or light eyes or anything along that line. And so anytime anybody tries to use any, and what's funny is this came out right before Cheddar Man. So basically the people that were trying to do Cheddar Man would be like, man, look at this new article. We can't even put out this lie that we were going to try to put out now. Yeah. So let's go back here and here's something funny. This guy right here, Radio 1, he's a racist idiot, tries to think that he's Egyptian, wears an ankh when you're not supposed to. And so he came out with a video here recently telling everybody that I'm a lying racist pseudo-scholar. And now check his logic. This is the Negro logic. That because I didn't make videos about Egypt and put them on this channel more than 2 years ago, that I never studied Egypt and didn't know anything about it, and that I was a baby goo goo gaga before the exact moment that I did my first video, apparently. Yes, you can see these idiots, they can't cognate together. He's also trying to point his finger at me right now and say that I am no longer able to talk about Africa or Egypt and stuff and all this yappy mouth racist crap. It's quite disgusting and silly as hell. We've made about 7 videos now just off his video with all the stupid things he says during the video. Like he claims that there's no Ethiopians here and here and here, like I tried to show in my video, and we start saying, oh, and then what's funny is 7 Phoenician 7 caught him on an earlier video where he clearly explains there's Phoenicians, there's Ethiopians over there and so on, and in the picture it shows all these brown areas, and it has nothing to do with the Ethiopians up in Ethiopia now, which used to be Abyssinia, but all this other places that were always called Ethiopia, all the way through the Iliad and the Odyssey and all kinds of things. But he tries to lie and deny it on the recent video right there where he's yelling. But 3 years ago, he had a video where he says how they talk about Ethiopians here and they talk about Ethiopians in India and all that stuff, and then she shows the line. So what happened in the last 3 years? Well, in the last 3 years, he forgot that he's a liar. Oops. Let's continue though. Let's go on. There's no need to look at that. I'll have another couple of videos coming about because there's more gems inside of his short period of time of yapping that just really show that he's a racist idiot and that blacks do this by their own hands and it has nothing to do with white or colonial imperialism or anything. They're literally deliberately trying to do this knowing the fact that they had nothing to do with it. But let's go ahead with this Cheddar Man. Let's go.
England's weather is very mild. Over time, the skin of people living there would have produced less melanin, which changes the appearance of darker skin to lighter skin.
Now, there is a fact that if you live right on the equator and then you move north, that you're probably not going to attain as dark a skin. But this is that magic adaptable melanin that whenever you were down there closer to the border, it said you're getting a lot of this and it tanned up. When you got up north, it goes, you're not getting as much anymore. Let me lighten up and let you absorb more. And if you found somebody living in Florida for years and a beach boy and all that shit, and then he moved up to Jersey, you'd notice that he paled out a lot too, but that also has nothing to do with turning from some mahogany color to a real pale person. That's foolish to try to pull off, no matter how many cloudy mountain pictures you show while you're trying to lie.
Darker skin has large amounts of melanin to protect from UV radiation produced by the sun, such as what would have been experienced in Africa, but with much milder climates comes no need for this defense mechanism.
Okay, so he says probably needed it in Africa and so on, around the Mediterranean. Yeah, people can get a tan there. Look at the Egyptians, though. The women are pale, the men are red ochre. That's the way it is in Greece, too, and Mitanni and Minoans and everything. So they all have this thing, and it has nothing to do with Negroids whatsoever. The only Negroids that they really run into are the Nubians, and they had them outlawed to coming in by decrees, quite a few of them. So now, let's see where he says they attach to. Does he say that they came out of Africa and went directly up there and then lightened somehow? How does this magic work as he now shows somehow camels when he's talking about a European person? Let's continue.
Cheddar Man belonged to hunter-gatherers who originated from Germany, Luxembourg, and Spain, which traces to the Middle East. At that time, this tribe of humans were in the middle of the Stone Age, and it was...
Oh, wow. So, and you look at this guy here, and even though he's probably a little dirty, he's about my color. And then, worse than that, they didn't originate from Africa. They originate from there. And for thousands and thousands of years. So when does this kick in, this cheddar go, when does that happen? Well, the thing is it doesn't happen. He never was dark in Africa to get light up here. They clearly show it. So their own premise is a pie in their face. Let's continue.
Before the development of farming, these men lived in sophisticated communities for their time and even had their own dogs. Every day we are learning incredible new things, and this just proves that old beliefs can easily be challenged and shattered and aren't always as true as we believe them to be.
You didn't shatter anything. What you did do was ruin your own reputation, probably as anybody who has any credibility whatsoever towards anything. You look like you really don't want to even look into anything before you put out videos. I definitely try to verify things before I put out videos, and I triple do it if it's things that actually have some type of meaning to it whatsoever, because I want there to be some truth into it, and I sure don't want somebody within a couple of days to jump on my video and go, that ain't true, check this out. And that type of thing. It means that I didn't do a very decent job at it at all. Now, this happens from time to time because new things are being found all the time, and that's what a lot of my videos are now, is because what I don't show you in that video is, we used to think this and this, and we were dealing with all this pottery and this BS, but here's this new info. Well, I don't talk about the pottery BS. Sometimes I just mention it on the side and go, before we had this genetics and this going on, we just thought this, but here's the Scythians and things like that. But he didn't shatter anything. What was shattered right there is a blatant attempt to nigrify and darken the skin of ancient Europeans blatantly right in their face off of a known lie. And it's quite disgusting. Let's continue.
If you enjoyed this video, give us a like and leave a few comments. We release videos regularly, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and click that bell icon to the right of it to be notified of every time we upload. And we'll see you all.
And here he goes again, showing a Bantu-ish type or Khoisan Negro with nappy knots. In other words, like that might have something to do with it. Now, that he has other videos, the ancient hieroglyphs found in Australia. Yeah, there's a rare one people don't know about. They had made it all the way to there. There's a lot of ancient stories about all kinds of things where they went, and the rhyme of the ancient sailor that they had, the lost sailor, and maggots to fight with things. 27,000-year-old Indonesian pyramid reunites human history. No, I've looked into that, and not so much. It looks like a formed mound somewhat, or just fell apart. A lot like the ones that are up in northern Bosnia area and all that they've got some of them that they've found. And of course, there's a lot of interest to that. Makes one think that maybe that was a natural form, though, and because of people being around that, got the idea to do one like that. And there are ones in Greece and so on that may even predate the actual Egyptian pyramids themselves at Hierakonpolis. I've got a video about it. But as far as this Cheddar Man thing goes, I think it's pretty disgusting. The one odd thing that we'd like to mention here, going through this video here, is that it never shows Cheddar Man. It never shows Cheddar Man. Here we go from the start to the back. Now, it does show you this guy here, but that's not the one that they want to show, and that's not that shoe-polished guy. Look at this, the little highlights there at the bottom. They don't show Cheddar Man through this whole thing. Did you see it? No. How many times did you see them try to shove a Negroid in your face? Were we counting? Was it 3? How many times did they show Cheddar Man that they're trying to talk about? 0? That's kind of odd, wouldn't you think? Along with the fact of them shoving those pictures at just the right time whenever they go darker skin, and then they show Negroids. This whole thing is quite disgusting, and it's not like people don't see right through it, and we are about sick of it. Are you trying to make something kick? Because it's about to if you keep this crap going on. It's about time for the Caucasian Europeans to take back their land and to shove the other people back out, because they are nothing but a burden on it and causing more crime and more problems than they are worth. And we see it on a daily basis almost in these countries. Sweden, land of the Vikings, for God's sakes. Yeah. And who made up the rule we had to cuckle? That we had to do? Who keeps making up this rule that supposedly we have to let people in? Is it some virtue signaling where we're trying to have this, I can be less racist than you, watch me ruin my country? I'll prove it, watch me ruin my country? No, it's gotten way disgusting. And I think people are starting to realize it. I just hope it's not too late to get a good grasp back on what we always had. Like, share, and subscribe, guys, and enjoy. And Cheddar Man, hell, they can't even show him in the video about it because the picture is so wrong. It's been totally debunked. They do have an old recreation of him that somebody did off craniometry, and he has about the same color as this man here, blue eyes and everything else. And what did he look like? He looked like this man here. And was he a Negro? No, no, no. Were there any Negroes? No, no, no. Were Caucasians that color? No, no, no. Were Caucasians ignorant primitives at one time? Way, way long time ago, yes. But now they can fly and go spaceship to the moon. Zoom. And so, when they talk about this racism thing, the problem that we're having is people are trying to call us racist if we don't let them ruin our country. Yeah, see, here's the new thing. Yeah, so here's the trick. They ask a white girl if she's racist, and if she'll of course say no, and then they'll go like, great, go out with a black person. I don't have to prove anything, and who said I wanted to go out with a black person? What kind of foolishness are you trying to push on people? That's quite disgusting. What's wrong with people being with their own race? What's wrong with Africans being in Africa and Europeans being in Europe? American Caucasians being in America and quitting to take third world countries in here to try to ruin our country from the inside also. Yeah, we're putting up a wall. Finally, slowly. Hundreds of thousands are coming across real quick, though, while we're trying to put up the wall. And everybody's just staring at them, kind of like, um. Yeah, and then what's funny is the Dems really want them in because they think they're going to vote for them and try to get Trump out of office. It's this panic they've gone into that's quite disgusting. I'm sure when you watch this video years later, you'll realize how disgusting that was and the witch hunt that was involved. But that has nothing to do with Cheddar Man and its BS that's been debunked. Y'all take care. Peace.